Hey everybody, and welcome back to Ready Steady Play, where I'm here to teach you how to play a new game on Kickstarter. Off-World, Building Better Colonies, from Postindustrial Games. You may know them from their other game, Human Interface, or maybe you've discovered them through their new Kickstarter project, which is this. It's a light 4X game, which means it's not actually that light. About space exploration, you take on the role of a corporation exploring different systems in space, looking for resources to exploit, and trying to exterminate your friends. It's quite vicious. I'll show you what's in the box, I'll tell you how to play the game, and then you can decide whether or not this is something you want to get involved in. Please bear in mind that this is a prototype copy of the game that I've got here. This is not the final product, but something that's been made so that we can play it and show it to you, the people. Check out all of these planets. It comes with a lot of planet tiles. Look at that. So once you've extracted your planet tiles from the box, you'll find some colonies. These are the buildings that you build on other planets. There's a rule book, more colonies, 4 colors, 4 players. We've got some tokens here. I'll show you what those are later. We've got dude men for our armies. We've got frigates to fly around space in. All of the colors. Somewhere I've got some more spaceships. These spaceships are going to be unlocked with stretch goals, so you can have different kinds of ships instead of just frigates. I've got some money cards. I've got more money cards. I've got secret agendas. That's right, secret agendas. I love those words. We've got Sol. This is the system we start in. It's Earth system. I've got Earth events. These things are going to affect what happens on Earth. I've got solo mode cards for solo mode. I don't even know how this works because it's not in the rules I have. I haven't played it, but there will be a solo mode because look, they made a deck of cards for it. That's pretty cool if you're into solo mode. I've also got 4 corporations, one for each player in different colors. So each player is a corporation. They're going to take on the role of one of these corporation cards here. And they'll get the corresponding stuff that goes with that. So let me show you what each player will get to start with. So here I've set up all the pieces for a player playing as Centurion Holding, the blue faction. Now, these are their armies and these are their colonies. It's worth noting that these are not component limited. You can put down as many as you want. I've just got less components because it's a prototype. However, these 2 are limited. These are frigates and they're going to fly around space, basically being a dick to your opponents. Now, it's worth noting here on your corporation that you've got both a special ability and a goal, which is one of your ways in which you're going to get victory points. There are 3 ways to get victory points in the game. So the ability of Centurion Holding is that whenever a player plays a card that allows them to deploy troops or attack other people's troops, then you gain an Amero, which is money. 1 Amero. Essentially, you're profiteering from the military. You've also got questionable sales, which gives you a victory point for every illegal frigate on the board. Because according to UN regulations, you can only actually have 1 frigate in space. 2 would be too many, but you can build a second one secretly from the black market. And every time you do that, Century Holding gain a victory point. But note that they can lose these victory points. Victory points are contingent on you continuing to meet the criteria. Centurion Holding also start the game with 4 1 Amero cards, 3 2 Amero cards, and 2 5 Amero cards, making a grand total of 20 Ameros to start the game with. I have shuffled and laid out the decks of money here, 1, 2, and 5 Ameros. I've also shuffled and laid out these planet incident cards. Some planets we discover have weird business going on, and these cards are going to determine what that weird business is. I've also shuffled these Earth event cards. These are going to come up every few turns and change the events taking place on Earth, which will impact the game. I'll give you a quick rundown of the other corporations in the game as well. We've got Naftoprom, whose special ability is that they are immune to the Reveal Crime card. What's that all about? Well, I'll tell you about that a bit later. But look at them. They are mean looking. Their goal is to control all the hexes adjacent to Sol, and then they'll get 4 victory points so long as they do that. We've got Android Intelligence, I think they're called, or Android something. They're androids. And your level of 3 colonies can mine resources as though they were a level 4 colony. That'll make more sense later on. Your goal is to get xenomorph tokens on the board. So you got to get those tokens out, but don't let your opponents kill them. 2 victory points for every xenomorph token on the board. Finally, we've got purple, Chan Organics. Earth is the only standard. Chan Organics do not like the different conditions on other planets. Fickle weather and biological niche planetary incident cards give double bonuses or are ignored. And they have this goal harvest genome, which lets them get points if they wipe out natives and hostile organism tokens. So their goal is at odds with the goal of the androids. But wait, that's not all. Corporate agendas. Everybody, once you've got your pieces and your money, everybody can get a corporate agenda. And you'll be dealt 1 corporate agenda that you must live with. But there are, in fact, 8 different secret agendas here. There's 2 copies of 8. This is a 16-card deck, so there's 2 copies of each secret goal. So you could have the same goal. You could have completely different goals. But let's have a look and see what the goals are. So we've got here the secret agenda, Understand the Alien Mind. 2 VPs for each controlled system with intact natives. So you have to take over systems with natives by building colonies there. And then if you don't kill the natives, you're going to score victory points. If you control 3 systems in this way, you automatically win the game. Here we've got Buy Out North America. This is very difficult. You have to get 60 Romeros in your hand and spend it. If you accomplish that, you get 4 VPs and automatically achieve victory if you do it with 120. What? Monopoly on Minerals. Minerals is a resource you find on planets. If you're exploiting 5 mineral deposits, gain 4 VIPs. Automatically win if you're exploiting 10. Control the star lanes. This is just control star systems. 10 for 4 VIPs and 15 to win the game instantly. Control planets, systems. I'll show you that. Total Overseer. So one of the cards you can get is brain chipping to make your people more compliant. This gives you 1 VIP for every second colony with a chip population, and if you chip 10 colonies, you automatically win. Here we've got Soul Purveyor. This is the same as the mineral deposits, but for biomass. 4 VIPs for 5, and automatic victory for 10. Biomass is a resource on planets. Energy is another resource on planets. It's the same victory condition again, but for energy. So now that we've seen all the secret victory conditions, let's give our corporations 1 each. Boom. Boom. So we can get rid of those. They're gone forever because we don't need them again this game. We've each got a secret agenda. We've got our starting money. We've got our units and stuff. We've shuffled all the 5 decks of cards. We've put the soul out in the middle of the table. We've shuffled our planets here and put them in a big old stack. At the start of the game, you'll choose how many victory points you want to play up to. The game recommends 8, 12, or 16. 8 being a relatively short game and 16 being quite a long game. There's also supposed to be little numerical trackers on your player boards, but this is a prototype and doesn't have them, so I used D10s to track the victory points. Because that's got a 0 on it for 10, that means we're on 0 victory points. There are 3 ways to get victory points. Either by your corporate goal, your corporate secret agenda card that we looked at earlier, or level 4 colonies. I've put out a planet here, which is going to appear from exploration later on. But if you have a level 4 colony on this planet, don't worry, I'll explain how those come later. That's worth 2 victory points as well. For every level 4 colony you have, you gain 2 victory points. So you would adjust your victory point counter here up to 2 to show that you had 2 victory points for that level 4 colony. The red player is very happy with his 2 victory points. Unfortunately, if that colony is taken away from you, you will lose those 2 victory points, going back down to 0. People can quite easily reduce the level of your colonies, or they could even just capture them and make them their own. The minute someone hits 8, then they've won the game, and the game is over. This is the only way for the game to end, so you've really got to be striving towards those victory points. Make sure you're really pursuing your corporate agenda cards, and remember they also have absolute victory conditions on them as well. Now we've just got to decide the first player. It's Red! Red gets the Earth Event token and draws an Earth Event. Economic upswing. Resources from Sol are doubled. That will make more sense when we get to the actions and how the game actually plays. But Earth events are going to come out periodically. They're going to affect the game in some way. For example, Sol will produce more money, or you can't build colonies, or you can't upgrade colonies, or energy produces twice the resources. All of these things might happen. But you don't change the Earth event. It remains in play, affecting the game state until it comes around again. So what happens to this Earth event token now is it passes to the next player in turn order from the player who had it, and it's set to an inactive state. What's going to happen is red's going to have a turn now, then we'll go to blue, who'll have a turn, and at the end of their turn, they'll flip this to the active state. Red will get another turn, and then it'll go back to blue, who'll draw another Earth event card. Then, once they've played this new Earth event card, Sol does not produce any funds anymore. I guess that this is the product of the economic upswing. And now that blue has played another Earth event card, the Earth event token passes back to the next player in turn order and becomes inactive. If you're playing with more than 2 players, obviously this will go around the table, but if you're playing with just 2, it'll pass back and forth, with each player experiencing the Earth event card they drew twice. A standard turn in Off-World consists of essentially two phases. You've got your moving the frigates phase, and then you've got your taking an action phase. And moving the frigates is very simple. At the start of the game, you don't have any, so you just skip that. However, later you can purchase a frigate as your action, and you spend 5 Ameros and purchase a frigate and place it on Sol. We'll get to movement and what it does later once we've explored a bit more of space. You don't actually need to have a frigate to explore space. That's one of the actions you can do. The actions you can do are explore space, upgrade a colony, play an Amero card for its effect. What does that mean? I'll show you in a minute. Exchange money with the bank. So in this game, there's no such thing as change. And that'll become apparent why that is later. But if you want to get change, then you have to take an exchange with the bank action. This exchange with the bank action can also be used as a universal trade action, which allows you to trade with one other player and make a custom-made deal. For example, you might trade them colonies and money for colonies and money or other things that they've got that you want. You can pretty much negotiate the own terms of your deal. And those are all the actions available to you. So let's have a look at how they work. Explore space first, seeing as we don't have any space out there. Red player is going first in our game here. So red player is going to explore space. He picks an empty hex edge and then just turns over the top card of the explore deck. Hey, when you're exploring space, you might also find these dark matter tiles. You can't go through these and you can't make colonies on them. They just block you and get in the way, making exploration more expensive and expanding more difficult. Hooray for dark matter. Now here we've got a pretty crappy planet. This is KSI Botis. It can only hold a level 1 colony and has no resources on it. A much better planet would be Sirius. Sirius can have a level 4 colony. As you can see, there are 4 colony spaces around the outside. It holds 1 of each resource type, energy, biomass, and minerals. It also has a planetary incident. So let's say that our red player discovered this planet instead of that one. The planet is placed in the hex edge that he chose to explore. In order to explore space, you must pay a cost equal to the number of systems the planet is away from Earth, starting with 1. In this case, we'd have to pay 1 Amero to explore this space. If we're exploring a space over here, it would have to be 3 Amero. So, red player pays 1 Amero to the bank, and now we flip over our planetary incidents card to find out what the planetary incident is. Phew, in this case, lucky, it was extra energy. That just means that this planet counts as having an extra energy resource. We'll take this energy token and put it on the planet. However, it could have been much, much worse. Something like xenomorphs or hostile organisms. The exploration vessel is lost and the system is quarantined until the end of the game, unless the token is removed through the use of biological weapons. In this case, we'd put a hostile alien token on the planet to indicate it couldn't be populated. Fortunately, we didn't get the hostile organisms card, which means that we can now colonize the planet. Whenever you complete an explore action, provided nothing is preventing you from accessing the planet, you can automatically build a colony there. Now, if the red player wants to put down a colony, that's also going to cost an Amero. He can immediately upgrade this colony with a free upgrade action as well. So he can actually play a colony up to level 4 on this planet straight away. Level 4 colonies are better at gathering resources. We'll talk about that when we get to income, which is one of the actions you can take. They're also harder for other players to take away from you. If you want to take this free upgrade action, you have to total the cumulative cost of the colonies. A level 1 colony costs 1. A level 2 colony would cost 3. 1 to put down the level 1, and 2 to upgrade it. If you already had a level 2 colony, you could upgrade it to level 3 for 3 Amero, but seeing as we don't, we'll have to play 6 Amero to play a level 3 colony. We'll have to pay 10 Amero to play a level 4 colony. However, as this is early days and there's 4 resources on that planet, I think it would actually be worth it to get right in. So our red player will pay 10 Amero back to the bank. Remember, he also has an objective to hold the systems around Sol as well. And that's Red's action. He took an explore action, and then it's over to Blue's turn to complete his turn. But let's ignore Blue's turn for now and go back to Red. Red decides to take income, which is the primary action for gaining resources in the game. When you take income, you get 2 income for Sol, unless there's a card affecting the income from Sol, such as the crippling economic crisis or the economic upswing. But by default, you get 2. Then additionally, you get 1 for each resource you can exploit. In this case, Red has a level 4 colony, which allows him to exploit all resources on the planet. So Red would gain a total of 2 Amero for Sol and 4 Amero for Sirius because of the bonus icon here, giving him a total income of 6 Amero, which is huge. If his colony were only level 3, he would have to choose 1 resource to exploit. In this instance, it doesn't make a difference, but there might be Earth cards that affect the value of these resources, so having the choice of all 3 is very potent. With a level 3 colony, Red only earns 3 Amero, 1 for the resource being exploited, and 2 for Sol. A level 2 and a level 1 colony do not exploit any resources, and so a Red player would only gain 2 Amero for Sol. The higher the level of your colony, the more difficult it is for your opponent to mess with it, so there is a point to upgrading beyond just collecting resources. Another action you can take is upgrade your colony. This is very much like the free action we took after exploring in space, but you have to take it as a separate action. You might do this if you want to upgrade later, or you couldn't afford to upgrade when you were exploring. But as discussed earlier, you can upgrade any number of levels with this action, just paying the cumulative cost. So to go from level 1 to level 2 costs 2 Amero, to go from 2 to 3 costs 3, to go from 3 to 4 would cost 4, to go from 1 to 3 costs 5, and to go from 1 to 4 would cost 9. The next action is play an Amero card for its effect. And this really is the core of this game. All of these Amero cards have actions on the other side of them, and the actions get increasingly better with the value of the card. Let's have a look at Blue's hand. There's no hand size in this game, so Blue can hold on to as many cards as he wants. You can see on these cards there's a shorthand which lets you know the cost in value. Remember, when you play one of these for an effect, you're also losing money. So you've got to think carefully about what you want to do with the cards. Each card has different abilities on it. For example, the biological weapons department is the one that allows you to remove those xenomorph tokens. You can also reduce 1 hostile colony to level 1, which is terrible. Some of them have this little crime banner. We'll talk about crime in a minute, but if you nuke a colony, that's a crime. I've also got this corporate assault force. Now, there's a army card like this in each level. This is the level 2 army card. But armies can do 3 things. They can capture hostile colonies. That just takes it away from your opponent and makes it yours. When you capture hostile colonies, they lose a level, and you better believe that's a crime. You can also restore order to a rebelling colony. Some cards make colonies rebel, and then you can't exploit resources from them. But don't worry, because your corporate assault force is going to come in and restore order. However, that drops its level, because I guess they kill a bunch of people. That's not a crime, though. You can also garrison them all at a level 3 or 4 colony, in which case they will defend the colony against other corporate assault forces. And you better believe that's not a crime. You can also sabotage life supports. This just reduces the level of a colony down to a minimum of 1. That's crime. Space pirates steal your friend's money when they claim income. Remember when we looked at claiming income? This will make them give half of it to you. Or it could just cancel out all of their income. Hey, here's a fun thing. That's not a crime. Media outrage. This is a reaction card you can play when people are exploring space that prevents them from taking the bonus place colony action. They still have to pay to find the planet, but then they can't put a colony on it. Android death squads, these untraceable beings will go and destroy your enemy's colonies by reducing their level. They can only attack level 1 and 2 colonies, but it's not a crime. And then the supply base, this allows you to build supply bases on your colonies that will reduce the cost of exploration if you're going through that space. So as you can see, Blue has some pretty cool Amero cards in his hand. A lot of them are very aggressive, reducing the level of your opponent's colonies. And that's sort of the way the game is. You've always got to decide whether you want to build up your own colonies, continue to explore space and build up your own economy, or spend your cards to take down your opponent's economies to stop them getting too far ahead. By the way, a level 4 colony is worth 2 victory points. Hey, remember those crime cards I was just showing you? Well, you better hope if your opponent plays a crime card on you that you've got one of these breaking news report crime cards. These are a reaction card that can be played in response to a crime. The crime is still committed, so it doesn't cancel the crime card. What it does do is force your opponent to pay you compensation in Ameros. And if they don't have the right denominations, well, they can't get change. There ain't no change in this game. Remember I said that earlier? Remember how I said exchanging with the bank was important? Well, that's because all the Amero cards are actions. So if they have to pay you compensation, they can't get change. They've got to overpay you. Or, they might have to, if they can't afford to pay you because they don't have the Ameros, they might have to start giving you colonies. Let me explain how that works. You better believe that the blue player is playing his corporate assault company on red's level 3 colony. Note that they can't actually capture a level 4 colony, so I've just moved that back down. But they can capture a level 1, 2, or 3 colony. Its level drops by 1, and it's a crime. So that goes down to level 2 and becomes blue. The red player's like, hey, not cool, man. I'm going to report your crime with this reaction card. So now the blue player has to pay compensation. The compensation is equal to the cost of the lost thing plus 1 extra Amero for good measure. In this case, red's lost a level 3 colony, which costs 6. So that's 6 Ameros plus 1 is 7 Ameros. So the blue player has to pay 7 Ameros to the red player. If he doesn't have enough small denominations, he might have to overpay. And if he doesn't have enough Ameros at all, he'll have to give the red player this colony right back. It's only worth 3 now. So, that's 3, and he's still got to cover the other 4 of his debt. Remember how blue captured red's colony there? Well, red's out for some revenge, and blue knows it. So the blue player wants to defend his colony. So on a subsequent turn, he could take the action to play an Amero card, which is the Merc Platoon. This is the cheapest of the military cards, and this would allow him to garrison a man there on the planet. The garrisons are represented by men on the planet, and you have 1 for the Merc Platoon, 2 for the Corporate Assault Company, and 3 Marines there indicates that it's a corporate battalion. The more garrisons you have there, the higher your level of protection. Note that the garrisons basically protect you from other military cards like this. So they prevent people from grabbing your colony. Note that the Merc Platoon can only be garrisoned in a level 2 colony or higher, not a level 1 colony. You need to have a level 3 colony or higher for the Corporate Assault Force, and for the Corporate Battalion you need a level 4 colony. When the Centurion Holding plays the Merc Platoon, they get to draw an Amero, as is their corporate ability. So they can basically play it for free. That's pretty cool. This just goes in a discard pile over here. You can put it face down if you want. Naftaprom responds by purchasing a frigate for 5 Ameros. On the turn they purchase it, the frigate can do nothing. It just sits there in Sol, doing nothing. But on their next turn, before they take their action, they can move the frigate up to 3 spaces. Now, on my limited space, I've only got 1 planet, but if we'd explored some more systems here, then they could move further away. Up to 3 systems. 1, 2, 3. But in this case, the red player doesn't want to go to Aragay. He wants to come and attack Sirius. When frigates attack, they basically do 3 things. They destroy a building on the planet, and they destroy a garrison on the planet. When they destroy a building, they can either reduce the level of a colony by 1, they can remove an upgrade that you've built on the planet. Some of these cards allow you to build buildings on the planet. Or once they're done destroying a building, they can also remove any men garrisoned on the planet. And of course, you better believe that's a crime. So if they've got a report crime card, they're going to report you and get compensation. However, that frigate can just stay there. Note, it can't get rid of the colony entirely, but it can stop you gaining any resources and just being a pain in the ass. The blue player could purchase his own frigate and move it in here. That frigate can attack the red frigate, in which case they would both be destroyed and just removed from the board. However, he doesn't have to attack the red frigate if he doesn't want to. He can, in fact, just move his blue frigate. He can just move his blue frigate in here and just park it there. This prevents red from continuing to attack the colony, because if red attacks now, he's just going to kill the other frigate, and then they'll both be taken off the board. So you can only ever have one frigate unless you get an illegal frigate card. That's not it. It's this one. The illegal frigate card allows you to just get a second frigate. Of course, it is a 5 Amero card, so you'll have to play it instead of using it as money. And then you can just take your second frigate and put it in any system that's not controlled by an enemy player. Control is just the colony, so anything without an enemy colony in it, you can just put your frigate down there. So gameplay will continue with the Earth token moving back and forth, and player actions going back and forth, each player playing an action, either upgrading a colony, or playing an Amero down as an effect, or upgrading a colony, or purchasing more frigates to, do battle with, until someone reaches 8 victory points and wins the game. It's very much a game of balance of power, where you're trying to edge ahead, while also playing devastating blows to your opponents, where timing is really key to making sure you can inflict maximum damage while also capitalizing on big incomes. Having the most money isn't just important because it means you can pay for more advanced colonies and explore further reaches of space. It's also important because it gives you more options when it comes to playing the effects of the Amero cards. Remember, some of them, like breaking news cards, can be played on your opponent's turns to report a crime or stop them building a colony, and that's money that you're bidding on your opponent's turns. So you've got to think really carefully about how that's going to work out in your favor. But as I said before, for a 4X game, and it is a 4X game because you're exploring space, you're exploiting resources, you're exterminating colonies and frigates. Yeah, and you're putting down colonies on planets as you explore them. So it is a 4X game. It's very, very light for a 4X game, but it's also a very ruthless game. Again, it's really about this space power struggle as you try to get your counter up to the prerequisite victory points before your opponents do something to take it away from you. So I'll be coming back tomorrow to play through Offworld with Michael and Ollie, and we'll see how we get on vying for control of the solar system, and you can see what you think and what we think about Offworld.